Hello and good evening, everybody, to our third episode of Pivot in Progress. Sorry, I'm facing a little bit of a technical glitch. I hope everybody can see me and hear me. Um, but yes, welcome again to Pivot in Progress. This is our third episode, and we are here with a very special guest, somebody who has built a tremendous career in multiple locations. But most importantly, he is a really good person to talk about the topic that we have presented today for all of you, which is how to go from a typical 9 to 5 salary job to multiple income sources. Now, that is a trend that's been really picking up. We are getting a lot of questions from folks at Pivot. We'll talk more about this during the course of today's topic. I have Varun here with me in the backstage. I'll just bring him
Hey
up
everybody,
to the front. All right. Hey, Varun. Good to have you. How are
I'm
you
doing
doing?
well. Excited to be in Mumbai after 5.5 years on a trip, and excited to have a chat with you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for doing this, firstly. I know we have done this, I think, once before, and we really got amazing feedback from that session. I hope to repeat that success again with this one. And yeah, welcome to India. I know you just got here, you just been experiencing maybe the Bombay rains and the traffic and the metro, as you were talking about. So I hope you have a great trip here. Um, but yeah, let's get started. I think before we dive into the topic, maybe a quick round of intros. I can go first, and then I would love to hear a bit about you as well. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Arjun. I am the founder of Pivot, which is a platform that helps you in different types of ambitious career transitions. And when I say different types, they could really be almost anything which you consider as an inflection point in your career. So, whether it's changing your domain, your industry, your level in the organization, changing countries, something that both Varun and I have done in our careers. So, we have really gone through a lot of these inflection points ourselves, know what the pitfalls and the key success factors are. So, in case you're looking for any of that kind of support, do check us out. We'll talk more about what Pivot does, how it helps during the course of this program. But I'm more excited to talk to Varun. And so, welcome again, Varun. If you could just share a bit about your background and journey and how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Hey everybody, I'm Varun Negandhi. I had a 14-year engineering career in the US, and over the last few years, I have turned into a side entrepreneur first, and now trying to get my full-time entrepreneurship badge on and going well. What I did something very different when it comes to building my side business, while also related to a little bit of the job that I was doing. So I was doing a little bit of sales in my automotive engineering role, and I used that to help other people sell themselves well in the job search and interviewing domain. That's how I kickstarted my side income journey, which is what we are all here to discuss. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Varun. So, Varun, actually, just to be clear, are you still currently working in a full-time job? Have you left that completely? What's the current situation that you have
The
going on?
current situation is that starting in 2025, I left my day job to completely go into beyond grad. Now, it is a leap of faith. It is a risk that all entrepreneurs talk about. So I am right now in a position where if it goes on, beyond grad is my full-time gig, then great. If not, then I'll figure out some solutions from it. But so far, everything's going pretty well.
Understood. All right. Yeah, so I think there's so much to unpack here. I'm just thinking about where do we even get started. Let's start with the beginning of this topic, which is always to ask why, right? I think it's always important to understand why something is happening before you actually talk about the what and how, all the details. Why do you think more and more people today are looking for sort of multiple income sources, portfolio careers, which was not really a trend even until I would say maybe 5, 10 years ago. Yes, there were some people, certain sectors perhaps, where it was happening more naturally, perhaps because of generational advice that was coming from certain people. But by and large, in most markets, India, US, etc., people would think of careers as one job that they have to do for their entire life, and that whole script is being rewritten right now. And obviously, you and I know many others have built our own things. We do content creation on the side. We might be investing in businesses. So, how come do you think this trend is picking up pace?
I think might be the obvious answer, which is we just have more examples now. The whole creator economy, the social media of things where people are sharing what they are doing. We are able to see more relatable people that are doing something interesting. And when we see that, we get, okay, examples of what people are doing out there. And we can be like, yeah, this is something that I can do as well. Let me just give it a shot. And then you dream for a few years, you take action here and there, something clicks and you go all in with your consistency, and that's when it starts to kind of show. So that's what I would say, and that's true for me as well, which is I saw people before me do things that I thought was cool, was interesting, and I wanted to try it out.
So you feel it's more of a like a role model effect as opposed to actual, let's say, financial requirement or kind of, people hedging their bets, kind of, given all the layoffs that are happening, a lot of people are realizing that you're not always as safe as you used to be in a full-time job, and hence looking for, multiple revenue streams because at least they will have something to fall back upon in case a job doesn't work out. Like, do you think that's also playing into this to some
Yeah,
extent?
definitely. I think no job is safe anymore. Gone are the days where jobs were actually like trying people to kind of keep them as much as possible to a point where people were getting pensions after retirement and stuff like that. Those days are completely gone. So yes, that has lit a fire under people's butts, so to speak. But I still feel that representation matters. Where if people didn't have examples, people didn't have role models to look to, then they would have found different ways to kind of be in the same corporate culture one way or the other, maybe upskilled or something like that to kind of continue to hold on to their day jobs. But I think the aspirational aspect of people doing more, building, creating something that, in the whole industrial economy we had kind of forgotten. I think that's where it's all coming from. But many factors, just like you said.
What was your inspiration to do this?
Frankly, I started. Okay, here's kind of like the context. In 2014, I was 3 years into my engineering career in the US, and I was living with roommates. Got married to somebody I was dating for 5 years. Was really happy for them to come and join me in the US. Suddenly I went from dividing all my resources and bills to being the only person paying for an entire apartment and stuff like that, because my wife Shirali had just come and she was not able to work at that point on dependent visas and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit, the salary that I'm earning was great for a single person, but now starting a family, eventually it will be very
Yeah.
difficult. So that was the trigger to start understanding how to save money beyond, not accruing credit card debt and all of that, which my parents had taught me really well. I first started to understand, okay, how do I save money? And in that process, I came in touch with people like Dave Ramsey and Ramit Sethi and all of these kind of personal finance experts. And Ramit Sethi was particularly inspirational for me because he said something which was really simple to me, which is there is a limit to which how much you can save, but there is no limit to which how much you can earn. Now, this is 2014. That was the initial inspiration because Ramit and many other entrepreneurs like him were creating like courses that I do now. It just took me 10 years to take action on that inspiration. Probably I would say 7 years to take action on that inspiration, but that's where the spark started.
Very interesting. And so it does feel like that you had a role model, you had some external reference points to look at to say, okay, if they have done it and this is how they have built their portfolio career, or started their own practice or gigs, I can do it too. And you're right, I think that does build a lot of confidence in people, even if there's a requirement at your end to kind of have two careers or more. I think a lot of times people kind of, they're not scared, but there's some hesitation to take that step until and unless somebody else has done it and shown the path ahead, right? Especially somebody you can trust, either within your network or like an influencer or celebrity. And one thing I always thought about is like, there are so many specific careers, if you look at them, especially the ones which are not full-time jobs already, who are so used to having a portfolio career. Like if you think about, an actor is also a brand sponsor. They are probably. I mean, today if you look at some of the actors, they're running their own businesses. They are investors in multiple companies, right? And so it's not like they're just doing acting. Same thing for, like, if you think about sports people, sports persons, like they're doing the same thing. If you think about just like angel investors, they're also doing many other things on the side, right? But it's the salaried professionals where there is this, I don't know, like just conditioning, deep conditioning that has happened, that if you are in a salaried job, you can only be in a salaried job and not do anything on the side. So yeah, I think it's good that we are seeing more and more salaried professionals also building things on the side. Now, what I wanted to understand from you is, let's say, I mean, I'm sure there are many people who have come to you asking you for advice about, I want to build a second income stream or another income stream. How do you typically advise them about, this is how you get started, this is where you sow the seeds of figuring out what kind of income stream to go after, assessing the potential for yourself, and then actually getting started?
I think over the course of this chat that we have, I wanted to share like three shifts that were very instrumental for me. The number one shift, which is where I would say everybody should start, is to invest in programs that help you start your journey. What do I mean by that? Like, I had entrepreneurial parents. They had run a stationery shop in a Andheri kind of a place in Mumbai for years and years. And they taught me a lot about entrepreneurship, but not the modern entrepreneurship that we are seeing out there. So while all their theories were very good for me, I didn't have the language, I didn't have how to take action. And forget school teaching us, at least at that point. I don't know how schools are over the world right now. I'll know more once my daughters get older. But that time, schools were not teaching us anything about entrepreneurship. There was only one path that you get your degree, you get a job, and that's how life is. So first, I had to learn entrepreneurship. So I first started with what my interests were, and then I invested in courses. I invested in courses on how to do freelancing, how to do online businesses, how to do copywriting, etc., etc. So before I could even start, I needed a language to speak, I needed a system to follow, and I first started by investing. You, I kid you not, 10% probably of my salary over multiple courses on how to learn this language. So that's what I would say. That's the place where you can start. Now, an experiment we can do regarding your other question, which is okay, what do you start? I think an experiment we can do is maybe ask people in the chat. I is because we are doing the streaming, is chat responsive or is it like a delayed thing?
No, it's responsive, but it depends on how quickly somebody wants to. We can
Yeah.
try this. I mean, worst case scenario, we won't get an answer, and then we'll continue the discussion
Yeah, I
accordingly.
think the first question to ask everybody who's on here is what you are already dreaming about starting something. When you're dreaming about starting something, are you dreaming about it in a digital space or are you thinking about products and Shark Tank and stuff like that? So that could be a very simple question to start with is, are you thinking about something digitally or are you thinking about something physical? So let's see, we can wait for 10 seconds to see that question.
Sure. I've seen that usually when you do this on Zoom, the chat is much faster. I think when you do it in a live restream kind of a thing, sometimes it can take some time. We are getting, I mean, we have gotten other people's comments
Mm.
earlier. Let's wait and see if we get anything with regard to this.
While the answers come in, I can at least say how I would think about it. Like if it's a physical thing, then there are a lot of people doing really good work and showing how to build physical products. You can look into Shark Tank and the people there. Are they teaching how to build physical products? What are they talking about? So you need to kind of learn that entire landscape, manufacturing, etc., etc. When it comes to digital, there are n number of things you can do. You can go the courses cohort route. You can do the um, uh, freelancing consulting route, and each route has now champions that are teaching you how to do it. So I see a lot of digital products, and I can kind of understand
Yeah.
because it gives you a lot of flexibility of location. I, by the way, I know her, so I thought I shout her out. But that's what I would think about first: digital or physical. If it's digital, I think you're already inspired by some people. What about them are you inspired by? Are the brands that they are working with, or is it that they are creating an agency? Is it if they are launching courses and cohorts, or whether they are doing coaching? What would that be that is attracting you to that thing? Because you won't have an answer. There is no way to have an answer at this point. The first step to do is look at what you want to build and first invest in learning how to build it.
Got it. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I do feel though, a lot of times this is a question that comes up when people are trying something new, whether it's transitioning to having multiple streams of income streams or transitioning to a new type of role or industry. um, a lot of times you get this question that I've been learning, I've been taking courses, watching videos of people who have done it, but I'm still hesitating to start on my own right now. I don't have the time. I, don't have the resources. I don't have the money, right? Like, for example, let's say if somebody wants to create a digital product today, um, it's actually pretty cheap to start creating content. But let's say if I want to build a website which actually delivers value to my customers, right? Either you have to learn the entire thing. I mean, today you can use Lovable and all those products as well, but I don't know how many people are using that. Most people would still, create it on, let's say, Shopify or something like that. And there is a learning curve there, right? I know those tools have made things much more democratized and easy, but there is still a learning curve. Um, I don't know how many people actually then take that step to go from learning to actually implementing. There is a chasm, as they say, right? Kind of between those two things. How do you bridge that chasm? Like, how do you actually go from just learning to building?
I would first say that learning for free is dangerous because you're not investing anything into that learning. There is no really need for a return on investment. Think about all the things where we are trying to grow our money, right? To get a job, we invested in any education. To invest in a stock, we are investing money first. To, like, let's say starting a shop that my parents did, they first had to put some capital in the rent, they had to put capital in the products that they bought. So the first thing I would say is try to go for courses that are strategic and are get put some money behind it, because when you put money behind it, you find a way to get your money back. At least that's what helped me, is that I was so ROI focused, because paying money for these courses was so difficult that I had to make the money back. And that can actually help break through a lot of the time issues that we have. Because if you paid for a personal trainer, guess what? You are going to go to the gym. So invest where it hurts a little bit. Like it's an amount that, kind of makes you a little bit queasy. But do that in strategic courses. So that helps the chasm, that helps you get the ROI back. And that's where I would say that now there are so many tools out there to kind of start cheap and build cheap. Like the easiest thing you can do is create a digital PDF, post it on Google Drive, and ask people to pay you money using Venmo or GPay or anything like that. Don't worry too much about how to get things done. Once you are able to get us understand a system, learn a process, it will give you the tools to take action.
Yeah, I think I like that part where you're kind of creating an environment or a circumstance around you which holds you accountable for staying consistent and working on whatever you are learning, so that the distractions that happen. By the way, this is one thing that I have learned, Varun, and I'd love to get your thoughts. Right, whenever you're starting something new and on the side, it's one of the most difficult things for many people, because you already have your most of your time being spent elsewhere, and there's just so many distractions along the way that consistency always gets compromised, right? I think the best or the most successful people who are able to have multiple gigs, I think one of the things they have figured out well for themselves is cracking that code of being consistent, right? And consistency can be defined differently for different people. It doesn't mean every day, half an hour or anything. It could mean like once a week. It could mean, once every 2 weeks. But there is still some consistent thought and effort behind that thing. And I really like what you're talking about with regard to holding yourself accountable by creating a circumstance, like you said, paying enough where it hurts. I think that really makes sense. And then learning the tools that make you feel like, okay, you can do this. How do you manage your time in a way that you can balance the multiple priorities that you're juggling when you have multiple income streams?
I've always found that question difficult to answer, right? How do you find time? Because we find time. We are really good at finding time for things that give us pleasure. And like, I really like watching sports documentaries on Netflix. I'll figure out a time to do that. I really like watching, let's say, Naruto, for example, which is an anime. I'll find time for that. I think it's easy for us to find time for things that are pleasurable for us. I've always found it difficult to answer how do you find time. I think at some point for me, the urge and need of starting something on the side was just so high that I was willing to do the hard yards, while I wouldn't say I sacrificed completely on my pleasure stuff, but then yeah, I would sacrifice a little bit, or it would unintendedly get sacrificed for me trying to work. One thing I'll say, Arjun, which is about consistency, right? We all talk about consistency in taking action. I feel that there is external validation is extremely important for consistency. Like, to take an example of us being, let's say, our fittest self in our life, we were consistently putting in action because there was also external indicators that we are doing pretty good, or we are looking pretty good, or whatever the case is. So when I said the first thing that I want everybody to take away when it comes to the shift that helped me was investing in learning and investing your hard earned money in learning. The second one would be to go where people are so you get some external indicators. Like, you started writing on LinkedIn. Did you? I'm sure you would have tried something before that, or was social media the first thing that you started doing? Yeah.
Personally, for myself, did do a lot of writing as a management consultant. And it's a really good question because I talk about it often. When I started my social media content creation journey, which was very much because of the fact that I started Pivot, um, I initially had a very consulting oriented writing style. So if you look at some of my earlier posts, you can see the consultant behind those posts. And what I very quickly realized is those things just don't work, right? And I had to kind of unlearn, relearn the art of writing for LinkedIn, for social media. So yeah, I did writing, but in a very different style and context before.
First of all, you need to get through that, right? You need to get through writing very stiff, like a composition style writing or an essay style writing that we are taught in school. You have to get through that to actually start writing in a way where it matches the tone of your voice. So it is a consequence of writing more publicly. How did you know that that was not working? I'm sure you were getting feedback, correct?
Yeah, direct or indirect, but mostly indirect through the engagement on your posts and by seeing what others were writing that was working well. For sure, there was external
That's
references.
exactly my point, which is for a really long time, like let's say 2 years, I was writing blog posts that were going to the internet, right? Nobody, whoever was reading it through people coming or using Google search at that point. The real shift happened for me when I started to write on a platform where people were. So I know a lot of people said digital products, right? Think about the digital product that you want to create. Where is it sold the most, or which is the place where people hang out, where you enjoy being there as well? For me, it was LinkedIn. I would have loved to get started on YouTube as well. LinkedIn was just easier for me to start because writing is much easier than video and creation and editing and stuff like that. So, whatever you are doing, you will do it consistently if you are getting some external indicators as well, such as engagement, maybe a person saying, hey, this post really helped me, or this technique that you were teaching about how to apply makeup really helped me do this, right? Whatever the case is, make sure you go to where people are so that you get external indicators coming in that will help with consistency. Just like whenever we were our best fit self, we always saw ourselves in the mirror, knew that we look good, and that helped with the consistency during that time as well. So that's the second shift that happened for me. In 2023, I started to write on LinkedIn, and then actually my work was being seen and be consumed and given feedback on, and that's what shifted things.
No, that's really valid point. I think we don't really give it enough credit that we are getting a lot of external validations, sometimes directly or indirectly. Um, one of the questions relates to what I just asked you about time management. In fact, I see a question from Vijay. I'll just bring it up here because it sort of aligns with what I was trying to ask you as well, Varun, which is that Vijay is looking up to people who have great work ethic and work 12 to 15-hour days. There are a lot of people, by the way, who are talking about specific hours that they are working in the day and the week recently. Like internet's been blowing up about 70-hour weeks and 90-hour weeks and all that. Um, but I think a lot of people are in Vijay's boat, which is I dream but cannot commit to that kind of entrepreneurial work ethic. Any advice around that?
I think my advice would be you don't need to. Correct me if I'm wrong, Arjun. Did you put like yeah? There will be some weeks where you are putting 12 to 15 hours a day, but those weeks are far few and in between. Tell me if I how was your experience building something on the side or try, I know you were in management consulting, which is long hours, but when it comes to building something, how much time were you putting?
Yeah. For myself, I would say it was on average probably around 12 on average, probably not 15, but yeah, definitely close to 12. And like you said, I think it ebbs and flows. There's not like a consistent forever 12 hours, but on average, I would say around 12. But I think it kind of depends on the magnitude of your ambition to some extent, right? And like, what's your style of working? Like, my style, actually, I know I'm not the most like, uh, how do I put it? But I don't work in a fast manner. Like, my working style is slow, deliberate, thoughtful. I like to spend time on things, right? I dwell on things. And I mean, I've tried to be faster in areas where I need to be faster, but overall, I have not been able to rewire myself completely. Where I can just become one of those who can multitask and do 100 things simultaneously, and that has led to some of the longer hours, I think, for me. But I know a lot of people around me, and especially a lot of like Gen Z folks that I work with today. Their turnaround times are like 30%, at least 30% faster than my turnaround times, right? So I think different people have different working styles, and that matters on like how much hours you need to put in. But yeah, that's kind of like what my experience has been. What
Yeah, I would
about
say
you?
first question whether you need to do that to get to the goal that you have in mind. That's what I would say. For me personally, I think starting out, you are not doing everything at the same time. Starting out, you're maybe just writing to see what works and what doesn't. And during that time, I was having 10-hour work days. Take, I know a lot of people commute. I know a lot of people have other responsibilities. I was a parent. I'm a parent to two daughters, and I like to spend time with my wife. So I don't think if you take an average of how much I've worked across the last 2 years, I would say it would average out at about 11-hour work days and a little bit on the weekend. So that's why I'm saying 11-hour work days for 5. So, and then that's what I would say. First, question that assumption. And then second, how do you advise building that work ethic? At some point, it should just burn that you're not taking action. It's sometimes it should just hurt you enough where you're like, okay, I need to do something. I think that's where things start to shift because I think you know the answer already. Everybody knows the answer already. It's just a matter of whether this is the right time or this is the time that you want to start. There's no right time, by the
Right. Yeah, I agree with that point a lot. A lot of times people do ask me, "Hey, is now a good time for me to start?" And they're primarily looking for, I would again say, like some sort of an external validation, in the sense they're not really looking inwards as to how their life is going, but more like, is it conducive time to be on LinkedIn? Is it a conducive time to start your own business? And I think there are a lot of ups and downs. Like LinkedIn's algo recently changed, killed my reach by, I would say, more than a few percentage points, and a lot of other creators I know. Similar to that, like businesses go through ups and downs of the economy, but I think you can't time that perfectly. Just like they say in stock market advice, you can't time your buying and selling of a stock. It's just very hard to do that. Um, but I think if you play the long game, like rather than thinking about just uh, you know get like basically going from rags to riches overnight, you think about, I'm doing this not just for quick wins, but really to build something meaningful that will help me feel more fulfilled and add some value to other people. I think if you go in with that mindset, and you have that fuel driving your ambition, I think you can overcome some of those ups and downs, better. But yeah, no, I would agree with you, Varun, on that.
And I have thought that as well, right? Which is when I started writing blog posts, what if I would have started writing on LinkedIn at that point? This is I'm talking 2018, 2019. I would I would be amongst the top content creators on LinkedIn just by virtue of having my reps in, doing good work and stuff like that. So you can always look back and say, "Oh shit, I started sooner. I hope to have started sooner," and I do that all the time. The analogy that comes to mind is right now I'm watching this Tour de France cycling documentary on Netflix. Is that you can only win the race if you are in the peloton, right? If you're not even in the peloton, you're not in the group of bikers riding towards the finish line, you can't even win the race. You can just watch it on TV like I am right now. but I'm hoping that I'll be in the peloton when it comes to creators and what they are building, at least on LinkedIn. And I hope to then join the peloton on YouTube and stuff like that. So, you, yeah,
Yeah.
somebody mentioned, right? Amanda mentioned that the best time to start was 5 years ago, and the second best time is now. I've read that often, and I've also ignored it, but I've also used it lately. So I completely agree with it.
Yeah, no, I completely second that. I think a lot we get that question a lot of times because we are not just talking about building something, as a freelancer or creator or investor, but a lot of times people come to us, hey, can I change my career at 40? Can I change my career at 50? And similar to what we are talking about here for starting a side gig, um, we do genuinely believe that yes, you can start again in a new field at any point in time. It might be slightly more difficult compared to people who have age on their side, but I do feel that you can really start anew or fresh at any point in time. We're getting a lot of good comments and feedback here. Thanks, guys, for joining us and really sharing all the encouraging comments. I see Sonali saying, "Varun, you're doing great," and
Hey,
he is doing
Sonali.
great.
Hey,
Thanks,
Rima.
Sonali.
Seeing a lot of friends.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rima is here as well. Good to see Rima. So, Varun, one thing that I want to continue discussing, and then we'll take up a lot of questions from folks. Folks, please share your questions in chat. I think some of you have already shared. We'll take those up in a matter of moments, and then anybody else, please bring your most burning questions. This is the best time to ask anything you want to know about how to start a side income stream, a second gig, whatever you're thinking. So the next thing I want to tackle, Varun, here is like based on your experience that you have now embarked upon, like let's say for this year or slightly longer, as a content creator and as an entrepreneur, what have been your core learnings during this journey? Like, what are the most common pitfalls that people fall into, and what are the most important, determinants of success? Things that you believe have helped you grow into a successful creator that you are today, and potentially you're utilizing those learnings to apply them for your entrepreneurial career that you just started.
So this fits in very well with the third shift that I had in mind that I wanted to share. Like the first shift was invest in courses, invest hard earned money in courses that you can learn from, especially when it comes to building a side business. The second one is going where people are, and the third one is the most common pitfall also, which is that you have to overcome failing in public and building in public. I think what digital entrepreneurship is all about is that you create digitally, everybody's there to see it. It's not like I'm creating a physical product in a factory and then I'm trying to kind of share it with people. Even they now have to build in public because they have to bring people along to their products and physical products. So one of the most common pitfalls is that I need everything in all my ducks in a row before I can start. So let me share just honestly the raw side of the different products that I've created. So I first started by creating a digital course called um, shit, I even forget the name. Something to do with promotions, how to get promoted at work. I think this was just beginning of my journey on LinkedIn. Not a lot of people knew me. 6 people bought that product. So I realized, okay, I had to do something. Six was good. I could have done more with it to get more people. But then I was like, okay, let's see if there's something else here. And I started to write more, get more feedback that people wanted to do people wanted to do job search training. And I created a cohort based course where I help people with their job search. And I first charged, I had two options. I would charge people $2,500 upfront, or I would charge people 500. That taught me as well, which is the 2,500 ones were more successful, more invested in the program. The 500 ones were invested, but I needed to do more. They needed to do more to kind of continue to take action based on their investment. So that taught me something about how products are created and what should be priced. Then I created a different version where I was doing a $3,000 product and a $6,000 product. What I realized was I was doing 75% of the work already in the 3001 as I was doing in the 6001. This is all to say that you have to continue to build in public. You have to continue to be willing to fail in public, to kind of have you drop down on the ground or slip on the ground and people look at you, people laugh at you. And that was the third biggest shift for me, that I just started to build in public, and I knew that I wished that I had an answer right away. I wish that the first product I launched
Yeah.
would be $1 million product. I am probably in the fifth or sixth iteration of trying different products, and I'm not, and not even close to $1 million product with that. So it's a process, and I would love to bring you in as well because you've made pivot your career. How? What do you think about that aspect of it?
Yeah, I think building in public is something that I also thought about deeply. And one of the core triggers for me to be on LinkedIn myself was that. Um, but I think that, it matters about like what kind of content you're creating or what you actually, what your intent is when you're putting yourself out there in front of others. Because I think people like you and the more successful creators, what I've seen is they lose their inhibition of privacy and are able to somehow discuss professional things and personal things with the same comfort, right? Like you might talk about, I've seen a couple of your posts where you've really shared like personal journeys and success and failure stories, or family members or something like that. um, I myself have not been able to do that as much just because of I think my own nature and how I have uh, been wired, I would say. And I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I do agree with you that if you want to be more successful in digital space today, building in public is a superpower, especially if you do it with the right intent, where you can be, as we usually say, you just need to be authentic, and you really need to not project yourself as an expert every time, but rather as a human who is going through a very unique and new experience and sharing that with others. I think that really draws people in for sure. I've seen that time and again. Like, one example that I've seen, which works really well, although there's a celebrity bias there, is Sunil Shetty. Sunil Shetty has actually been pretty active on LinkedIn since he became, I think, a major business investor. And obviously, he'll get traction no matter what he does. But you can actually see he gets more traction than some other similarly placed celebrities, right? Because he's writing with a certain kind of intent where he's sharing his learnings from Bollywood and how he's applying them to his investing and business journey, and things that he really used to suck on, like how he navigated those aspects of his career. Now, that's something that anybody would relate with, whether or not you're an actor. So I think the intent and authenticity that you come with while you're building in public matters a lot. Um, and that's where the success and failure kind of gets determined, because I've seen a lot of people building in public, but they're just like always showcasing their best side, right? They're always like talking about, and sometimes that works too, because I don't want to say this to everybody, but people are gullible. Like, for example, I've seen people saying, I went from 0 to 1 million in like 6 months. And, like, this is the blueprint for that, what I did, right? And it gets a lot of traction. It's kind of like money porn, as I say, right? It's the money porn, like where we say, like, hey, that rags to riches, this is how you do it. Um, I don't think it actually works for most people. Otherwise, most people would be millionaires by now, right? Um, but that's where the difference is, I think, in terms of building in public with the right intent versus just trying to gain some quick attention.
I think it all stems from, are you willing to be vulnerable enough where you try something and you fail and people can see you fail. So your first version of any kind of product that you're building, be it a SaaS tool or a digital course or a coaching program, is not going to be your final version or the version which unlocks that entrepreneurship scale for you. And you just have to be willing to kind of go through and say, okay, maybe this attempt is the one, or no, maybe this attempt is the one. And I have seen people try different products for many years before they landed on the one that got them traction. One of the things that Alex Harmozy, a YouTube personality now and a business person, he has something in his book. I think he attests it to uh, Amazon guy. Man, I'm thank you who built Amazon.
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
Okay.
Uh, he's become muscular, so I forgot who he was. He said something very interesting, which is entrepreneurship is like baseball, where you just keep trying to hit it out of the park, and you have unlimited balls. One of them goes for a home run, and you are set for a really long time. So you have to be willing to try out different versions of your products, different avatars that you're trying to attract to. And I've given a glimpse of how I've done that with the job search and the other, but you have to kind of be okay with that. And if you're okay with that, if you're not looking for perfection right from the get-go, then you'll be able to build along the way.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, do you know Sonali Kumar by any chance?
Yeah,
Okay, she has
absolutely.
written a really interesting comment, which is failing in public is high risk and high reward. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with the high risk part, especially?
It's high risk internally. Externally, people don't care about it as much. So there's a thing called the spotlight effect, which is like we all feel we are on a stage with a spotlight on us, and everybody is watching us perform on stage. Whereas everybody is going through life with the spotlight effect. They are trying, all of us feel that the spotlight is on us. But I would say it's risky because you are being vulnerable. You are showing it's risky internally. Externally, people don't care as much. Even if they are amused by it or laugh at it, when you do make it, they will see you and they will know the hard work that went into it. And this, by the way, goes with friends as well, which is a lot of your friends in the beginning, when you're trying something new, they'll be from the outside looking in, curiosity, they'll sometimes encourage as well. But then eventually they see you take action for a long time, and that kind of changes things as well. So, to that point, yes, it is very risky internally. Externally, people don't care as much. Rewards also are some things that you are going to enjoy, but you can use that to inspire others to do the similar things that you have done, just like we are inspired.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think makes a lot of sense. I think we overthink about, how much people are thinking about us. I think most people are just thinking about themselves as well. No, they're not thinking about you that much. That makes sense. We have a couple of questions here. There's one from Kamal. It's slightly longer, so I won't bring it up because it'll hide our faces. But the question is, uh, that he's from an engineering background and always been interested in finance side of things, wants to explore a career in CFA or finance in general, but he has to be in engineering for next couple of years to stabilize income. How does he then switch to finance, or enter finance and investing career? What would you suggest? What do you think, Varun? I mean, this is a pretty, actually, you know what? I really like this question because this is probably the heart of most people's conundrum when they are thinking about transitioning from a salaried full-time professional job to something on the side, right? And investing, finance, a lot of people are interested in. I mean, we are more of creators, but I know a lot of people who are not creators, but they really want to enter investing heavily, or like start their own small business or something on the side. So whatever you answer, I think hopefully it will be transferable to many other use cases as well.
So I did a side business in something that is totally different from my 14-year engineering career. I mean, to the most part. In my engineering career, I did a lot of advanced powertrain technology that goes in our cars, like engines and hybrids and electric vehicles and stuff like that. Where what I first had to do was I had to first learn the language, like I said. So I wanted to do more coaching, more courses. So I learned how to start online businesses, what's a sales funnel, what is called generating leads, what is middle of the funnel, what is pricing, all of that. So first I had to learn that. So taking Kamal's example, if he's in the engineering background, I know CFA and finance, you'll have to learn something new. So it first starts with investing in learning that, and you can do it on the side. In fact, your day job will actually help finance a lot of the learning that you're trying to do. Like I said, I put 10% of my gross salary into learning from other entrepreneurs. So you first start there, like I just did. And then it took me a really long while to take action on it because I was an immigrant in the US and I was stuck on the H1B. So that was discouraging. That was an excuse in a way. I could have still started, not monetized, but I didn't do that. It took me a while to kind of get started. Once I did start, I didn't take away, I didn't go out of my day job immediately. It was like a 5-year journey, similar to what you are saying. First year, I think 2023, I earned about 10K that year. 2024, last year, I earned about 60K, like less than half of my base salary from the engineering. And that kind of gave me a little bit of an impetus to kind of say, okay, let me try it this year to go all in on my business. I didn't even need to do that. I could have just continued to do my job and continued. 60K is a really good income to earn on the side. And you could just do that till you are comfortable. The the advice I got from my mentor was you first replace your income from your side business and then you move totally into the side business. Now, I didn't listen to that to the T, but because I had other motivations, but that's one way that you can think about it as you plan on moving into finance and then pivoting completely into it down the line. 5 to 10 years is a solid timeline for you to make that happen.
Yeah. All right. I think we have time for just one more question. And this is a question I think come up twice now, so I'll take it. It's from Vijay and it's about what role is AI playing in creating content? How do you keep your content human while matching your personal tone? I think it's a fairly specific question for content creators, definitely. Um, if you want to answer it from that angle, that's absolutely fine. But if you think you want to answer it more from the angle of how AI is kind of impacting this entire notion of having us sidekick, second career, portfolio careers, maybe you can touch upon that as well.
I think a good way to kind of write in a way that you are human is to literally write. So I use AI quite a bit. I use it to brainstorm ideas. I use it to kind of give me a outline or a structure for it. Then I write the posts. If I'm stuck, I'll ask for ideas. When it gives me ideas, I'll try to write in my own voice. And then eventually I'll also ask it to rate the post that I'm writing. And I asked it to say where I had of my audience. By now it knows what the audience is. Rate this post on a scale of 10. And it will give me a rating. It will share what feedbacks can be improved. So AI, I'm using AI a lot in my content writing, in my business strategy, in my business writing, whatever you call it. I think you eventually learn what your tone is. And one way to think about it is, would you speak in the same way to a friend? Previously, like Arjun mentioned, I was also writing in a very essay composition style of the way. Whereas if I think about just chatting with a friend on the corner of the street where I used to play soccer, you kind of, why did I say soccer? I'm in India right now. You used to play football. That's the vibe that you want, and that will you'll get there with time. It's not a switch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think definitely when it comes to content, a lot of experimentation, a lot of trying different formats, different content styles. Definitely very important. I do feel like in terms of AI, there's so many different use cases outside of just content creation. Even though content is probably one of the biggest ones, but I've seen people also using like AI research to power their investing journey a lot of times because if people are really interested in, for example, doing fundamental research about a company, there are actually real investors who are using AI to do that initial bit of research from like going from, let's say, a universe of 100 companies that you can invest to like just shortlisting maybe 10 companies, and then you do deeper dive into those 10 companies. So I think AI is definitely playing a pretty important role in empowering people's side gigs and sort of this multiple income streams as well. I think we're coming to an end, Varun. There are a lot of people who I think are inspired by your content. I'm really happy to see that because I've seen your journey up front, and clearly you've touched upon a lot of people's lives in in a very positive way. And I think if there's one learning that I have seen from your journey, just as not just an observer but as a friend as well, I think you have always had a mindset around adding value to your community in many many different ways. And we are talking about income streams, and that's a very like personally financially rewarding topic, like how do I make more money. But honestly guys, I would say to whoever's in the room, I think you already know this because a lot of you are followers of Varun's amazing content, but it's that thing that Varun does, which is think about how he can help others, that actually helps him grow himself. So if you're creating content, if you're kind of making personal investments or doing anything on the side like starting a small business, if your uh, mind is focused on creating value for people around you, a lot of times you will just see success coming along your way as well. So I just wanted to touch upon that. But yeah, I would love to hear if you have any final parting thoughts before we wrap up.
First of all, I appreciate that. Thank you. That is one of the goals of me creating content is to lead with value. I want to make sure almost all my posts have something where a person who's stuck at point A can do something to go to point B. That's my intention. And yeah, I'll have some fun posts now and then, but 9 out of 10 is my intention of being value first. So really appreciate you saying that. That's validating for me. I would say my final thoughts are I would just summarize the three biggest shifts that helped me start earning on the side. And even if you don't even need to pivot into it completely, I just saw it as a way to build a dream lifestyle, which I am living now. And that was my way to do it is to build on the side first. So the three shifts are one, invest your hard-earned money till like to a point where it's like a little uncomfortable into learning the thing that you want to do, and take your time in understanding who the best person is and what they will teach. You can research other options, but invest your hard-earned money. Then go where the people are so that you are not speaking in an empty room. You would rather speak badly in a room full of people where people say, oh, you're not speaking that well, than in an empty room. So go where the people are. And then the number three one that I had to shift was be open to not knowing whether the version that I have right now in my mind is the ultimate version, the perfect version. I can guarantee you that it won't be. So start building and exploring in public, and start putting offers out there so you know what works and what doesn't.
Amazing. Awesome. I think that is very practical and actionable insight. So I hope people have, made a note, at least a mental note of that. and can really reap some benefits from this discussion. Um, yeah, I think we had a great discussion, Varun, covering a lot of different types of questions and challenges that people faced in this journey. So thank you for sharing all your insights, all your learnings. Keep doing the good work. I think a lot of people are benefiting from it. So kudos to you, and happy to be part of your network. And hopefully we'll get to catch up again soon.
Absolutely. To
Yeah.
to everybody who are in here, who are really good words for me, thank you so much. It's very encouraging. Another way for me to say that build in public, go where the people are, because you get that validation back that helps you kind of direct or gives you energy to kind of continue to go through this hard challenge. So I really appreciate that. To any questions that I have missed, feel free to shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. You will find me, Varun Negandhi, the bald guy with the blue background. That's me. DMs are free. Like, you don't need an email credit. If we are already connected, send me a DM. You can send me a connection request as well by just shout out this session, and feel free to ask me questions. I don't have a course or a program right now, but I'm happy to give you my point of view, and know that there are multiple ways to start a side business and an entrepreneurship. This was just the way that I fell into, and that's what I'm sharing with you guys today.
Yes. And for those who would like to do that, we have shared Varun's LinkedIn profile link in chat. So please do check it out, reach out to him. And in case you're looking for any support on your career goals, you can also schedule a session with us. Um, but I really appreciate everybody taking time out on Thursday morning if you're in US, or Thursday evening if you're in India. Really, really, grateful to have you as part of our community. And with that, I think we can bring this to a close. Thank you again, Varun, for joining, sharing all your learnings and insights.
It was great chatting with you again. You know that whenever you have something that you feel I can add value to, I'll be there.
Thank you so much.